The John Schneider Show on Wyman and Bob every Thursday until draft day with Seahawks General Manager John Schneider.
It's the moment you've all been waiting for. It went so well the first time we said we should do it again. Let's do it the following week. And by God, he said, yeah, let's do it. The one, the only John Schneider, Seahawks GM, is here with us live from the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. How are you, man?
Good. Tired? Good. We just got done with meetings today, so college guys got out of here today, and it seems like we were just here, right? So
yeah.
You said 7 to 7 to me at one point? Like, is it 7 a.m. to 7
we
p.m.?
started going later into the evening so the guys can get home quicker because we're starting, the combine's longer now. So, it's a full week, so the guys can get home for the weekend, spend time with their families. There's that storm in the Midwest, too, so we're trying to get those guys home and give them a little downtime before we go to the combine and then right into all the off-season pro days and everything.
Well, let's start with what you heard Dave talking about there in the update. A guy you're familiar with, Bobby Wagner, now out there. Of course, we got a million texts from people. Hey, you got to bring him back. Yeah. Bobby's got to come back, right?
Yeah. Seattle, great.
What do you think?
No, he's obviously an amazing player, icon, Hall of Famer, all that. He's not officially released yet, so he's not on the waivers. So congratulations to whoever scooped that. But he's technically still on their roster, and so we won't be able to speak to his agent for a minute or two, which is actually himself. So
yeah. By the way, what does that mean? We're reading the details. So the release becomes official. The Rams will save $5 million in salary cap space, but they incur a $7.5 million dead money charge. Now they have the option of designating Wagner for a post June 1st release, which would save them $8 million.
Yeah, I don't want to get into his specific stuff.
Well, I mean, just that terminology.
Yeah, so we used to have post June 1st releases, and that basically doesn't get that doesn't count in your cap this year. It gets pushed into 2024.
So that's
what they're doing. Now you can designate it early. You can say, hey, this player we're designating, we're going to cut. We don't have to hold him on our roster. You don't have to have, because he would count on their 90-man roster with the old rules until June 1st. Now you can designate a player and say, hey, he's going to be a June 1st guy. He's off our roster. The dead money gets pushed into 2024, and then we have the ability to sign somebody in the roster spot.
So he can go talk to other teams and all that, but it becomes official on their
and it's up to them when they release him. So we have plenty of time here before the new league year starts, so they can release him at any point.
So you guys are heading to the Combine next week.
The Indy Combine.
Yeah, it's kind of that's the Catalina wine mixer.
It is a mixer, that's for sure.
Yeah,
those are late. Those are long weeks.
Yeah. So where are you? We've been kind of going chronologically, up to the draft when we have our last show.
Yeah.
So where are you right now? You mentioned the meetings that you're having.
Yeah.
You signed a couple of players.
Yeah. So. Well, there's a lot of questions there, Dave. Can I go one at a time? Or?
Yeah, let's go with. They told us not to ask double-barreled questions, and I just ignore that. Yeah. I ignore it.
No, we just got through about 1,150 players the last, 10, 12 days. So now we've dwindled that down to, let's call it 300 in vague terms on our front board, which is 1 through 7. We'll go to the combine. We'll have all the medicals, all the psychological testing, all the workouts, all that kind of stuff. We'll get all of our questions answered, as many as we possibly can at the combine, and then that'll come down to 220-ish, 250. It depends on the quality of the year, or the quality of the class every year. Last time we talked last week, I was talking about you have to evaluate the classes and everything. So this looks like a solid class, good depth. But so we got through that process. I was just thinking about it yesterday. Somebody asked me, like, well, how many? I think it's my 30th now. So, I'm thinking about, I tried counting up how many days, whether that was just, doing advanced scouting when I was with the Packers, or, how many days that is in the city of Indianapolis, right? So, I think it's close to, a year,
Wow.
So, yeah.
You're a part-time resident.
Yeah, I know, I've been, paid tax in the state of Indiana, so.
Hey, when you guys do those interviews there, who asks the question? Is it you, Pete, and position coaches, or Scott? Who's asking the questions?
It depends on schedules. So we'll have, primarily, the area guy will be in there, basically introducing the player to everybody. Pete, the coordinator, myself, Matt, Matt Berry, Trent Kirshner, Aaron Heinlein, Jason Barnes. We kind of have guys, coming and going. Nolan Teasley, and then we also have another group with whether Willie Schneider, Nolan, Matt Thomas, all these other people that we're meeting with. We're meeting with a lot of agents and to discussing our players and trying to figure out what the lay of the land looks like. I meet with a ton of general managers down there, so it's really fluid. We get done. We used to go into to the interviews. We used to go until like 11 o'clock at night, and then you'd start some meetings after that. So it'd be like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we'd be getting up at 6. So it's intense, and they've with TV now they've drawn it out. So you have the primetime workouts. So we have interviews with these guys at 8 o'clock in the morning. Start at 8 o'clock in the morning. We go like Monday and Tuesday, I think, in the evening, and then then we do it in the mornings and try to knock it out there. But like I've told you guys before, the physicals are huge, the psychological testing, the interviews, and then trying to get as many questions as we possibly can, questions as we have on these guys answered as we head into the spring, so we can kind of keep trying to figure out who the person is.
Yeah. Any over the years, any stories come about in those interviews that you remember?
I have. We could do this all day if you guys want. I really I have. My very first combine was. Like I said, 30 years ago, and it's actually a train station, an old train station where the players stay. And so I was like I think I was an intern at the time, or just becoming on full time. And no, I think I was still an intern at the time. And so they put me up in one of these. It was actually like a train car that they made into a hotel room where a bunch of the players stay and everything. And they had an extra one, so that's where I stayed. And I had to be in the 10s on the 10-yard line timing at, say, let's call it 9 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And I set the alarm and everything in this room. We had our flip phones, I think, or the big bomber phones from the TV or whatever.
Sure, like a brick.
Like you're calling in the fighter planes or whatever. And I don't even know if they had watch or clocks on them or whatever. And I set the alarm, and I wake up and go in the bathroom, and there's another clock in there, and it's like I'm like 45 minutes late. I'm like, holy smokes, I'm fired. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm putting my contacts in, and I'm like, all right, well, I can go back. I could definitely. I think my high school would hire me as the head coach. I think I'd have a shot to be that. Could be the coordinator for sure. I'd be the head coach in about a year. I'm thinking of all these things I'm going to do. I'm just going to go straight to the airport, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just grab my backpack and just go over there and see what happens and see what's going on, and see if I can just kind of like BS my way into this thing.
You've been there the whole time.
Yeah. And I walked out of the hotel, and I'll never forget. There's a big Catholic church with a big clock there, and it said 10 to 9, and I'm thinking, holy smokes! And so the clock in the room was wrong, so I just haul butt, went in there, sat down, and like nothing ever happened.
You were early.
Yeah, I was 10 minutes early. You kidding me? Yeah.
You're
talking about the questions in the room, though?
That was your first year.
That was my first year. Yeah, I was fired.
Yeah.
I was fired before I even walked into the RCA Dome.
I like that you're thinking about your future as a high school football coach. I could be a coordinator. I could do that.
I could do that for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I could be the head coach. But asking the questions is what.
Some of the players, like some of the questions or answers that you get.
Yeah. So. There was a period there where I was kind of the youngest guy in the room. So whenever we had to ask, the tough, dating questions or drug questions or failed drug tests and all that, we were interviewing. We were in Green Bay at the time, and we're interviewing. And there's 10 of us packed in this room, poor dude sitting in there, and so I'm asking him all these questions, and he ended up failing a drug test, had to leave a really good school, goes to another school, has to sit a whole year, and he's doing great, and then fails another drug test in August, so he can't play until like halfway through the season or something like that. So he misses a ton of time. And I'm asking him the questions of what happened. We're going through the whole thing, and a gentleman in the room, an older gentleman, was on this guy, but I don't get it. That's just dumb. That's just dumb. What are you doing? Well, I can't understand what you're doing. And so he's kind of starting to yell at this poor young dude who's really ended up being a damn good player. But and he's on him and everything, and And he's just, I just don't understand it, son. Why did you do it? Why did you do that? And he's like, I'm sorry, Coach. I was sitting in the middle of the couch, and I was next. They were passing around a bowl, and I was next. Like, what do you mean? Why did I do it?
You give him points for honesty?
Yeah. And I was like, I mean, he wasn't lying. I mean, it just happened to him, I guess. But we had another famous running back that was like, coaches are talking about scheme and, outside zone, inside zone, all that kind of stuff. They're going through everything with him. And somebody's like, hey, you consider yourself to be a really good, you consider yourself to be an inside runner or outside runner? Are you more comfortable running inside or outside? And he's like, are you kidding me? Have you seen our new indoor facility? He's like, I never run outside anymore. I work out in that indoor facility all the time. And there's awesome. 1 million of them, yeah. Yeah, there's a ton of them.
How much have you had to change your approach in those questions? It's a different culture now. You got to be careful what you say.
Totally.
I remember I had Brian Billick on a show over a decade ago.
Yeah.
And we were talking about interviewing players. And I thought it was hilarious, but it probably wouldn't fly these days. He said he had a player sitting in front of him and a list of things that they had gotten in trouble for.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant player. And he said, I just asked him, are you dumb or are you a thug?
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, it made no sense to him. But these days, you've got to be much more careful. So is that something you guys talk about going in? Like,
Definitely.
all right, we want to know this, but you got to ask it in this way, or
yeah, Matt Berry, does a great job of we have there's what politically correct questions you can answer and everything. We used to ask we used to be able to ask like very pointed questions, and now it's you have to be very careful. But Matt Berry does a great job for the staff, coaches, in terms of setting up the questions that we have specific to the player. So you're not just getting in there and saying, hey, who's the most important person in your life? Where were you raised? How many siblings do you have? It's like it's all about football fit, character fit, what they've overcome, what kind of grit they have. Are they going to be able to fit with our position coach, the guys coaching them? How does this whole thing come together? Matt does a really good job putting the questions together specific to the player. And every guy is totally different.
And how much time? I'm sorry. How long is the interview? You got
15 minutes. Yeah.
So is there somebody in there going, all right, guys, time's up?
There's horns. Yeah. And it used to be wide open. So when I started, you would literally get outside a room. It was like a Embassy Suites kind of setup, in the downstairs, and you would literally, you'd stand in line, waiting for specific players. Every team had a room, and you'd stand outside. And there'd be fights between coaches and scouts and everything, trying to get a guy to come in a room and everything. And but you'd stand there. I'd stand. When I started in the league, I'd stand in front of like the Raiders room for hour and a half, waiting for Willie McGinnis to come and interview with us. But yeah, it's totally changed now. So what they did was they set up a clock. There's 2 horns, then a 1 horn, and it's over, and you got to get out of there and move on. And so Jeff Foster's done a great job of setting up a whole schedule for all the players. So you say, hey, we want to interview these players. They get in, they get out. Now we've moved over to the Dome, so it's even different. We started last year.
So other than being at the games, and that's where you can really tell something. I remember you were on the sidelines for a Russell Wilson game a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're seeing how they operate, the film, obviously. But what about, is it the Combine and the Senior Bowl where that's most telling, where you can really see what a guy is really all about? I would think especially like at the Senior Bowl, getting coached by a professional staff, how they react, stuff like that.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with it, but I think Dave, myself in particular, I don't get noticed. So like going to the games and seeing those guys play live and just watching the warm ups and all that, and just being down there and in the pregame, seeing how they conduct themselves, how they interact with their teammates, all that kind of stuff. So seeing them play live in a game setting is great. We have a lot of our questions built up from the fall. So seeing a guy play live, great. What are the questions from that game that arise? And then seeing how they handle themselves in a bowl game, all-star setting. To your point, Russell's was the Big Ten championship with Kirk Cousins. Wow. Yeah, and everybody's like, you got to get there super early. And, he's out there 2 hours before the game. So, and it was legit.
You ever had your mind changed on a player you went into an interview with going, I love this kid, we love him on film, we love what he does, but maybe he gave you an answer to a question where you went,
oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that. Like, you just changed your mind from the way you went into that room.
Definitely. Yeah, it definitely happens often. But what can happen is you don't want that to be, the end all and the be all either. You got to keep your mind open to, okay, maybe this is his 10th interview, or to your point earlier, maybe he just left the room where, a coach was just totally on his butt. Like, because some guys can interview people in a pretty harsh manner, right? They want to see how they react.
Yeah.
And so you can get guys that are just kind of, when they come to you, they're kind of shook. So you don't know if it's, bad moment or a bad day or whatever, what's going on. They might have just found out that, they have a loose ACL and now they're all worried about, like, there's a ton of stuff going on there. So to be able to sit there on the weekends here and be studying and just like call those guys up on a speakerphone and just call them up and talk to them, or on the Zooms and all that now, but just to be able to sit there and have a conversation with them and really kind of get to know them, and then you find out more that way. We've had guys that have had poor interviews on the canned interview that they film at the combine, because there's an interview in the room and then there's an interview that they film by themselves. Somebody's just asking them canned questions all the way through. And then we try to do a bunch at the All-Star games as well. Our guys do a phenomenal job of it. So to see we've drafted 2 players that had poor interviews on the canned interview at the combine, and then great interviews with our guys at the All-Star games because they're just loose and they feel great.
Yeah. One of those guys that probably did a good interview was Nick Ballore. Phil Haynes also.
Phil Haynes, yeah.
2 guys that are just awesome dudes.
Yes.
And I saw on the website, so you signed those 2 guys.
Yeah.
And really kind of asked you this earlier, but those 2 guys are guys that, fill out your roster.
Nick's a core guy, right?
Yeah.
Core guy for us. We had run out of cash, during the season, cash and cap, to be extending guys towards the end of the season. So, these were 2 guys that Nick's, special teams captain. I mean, everybody in this building loves the guy. I mean, he's an organizational dream, stud person, leader of this team. You guys know he's real funny. Got a great sense of humor as well.
Very self-deprecating humor.
Yeah, great guy. So obviously he was a guy that we really want to get done early to let the other people know in our team building process, whether it's our own guys or guys around the league, because he's so well respected that, hey, this is our core guy. We got him back. Phil, split time with Gabe throughout the year this year, and the way the landscape looked when we got done with our free agency meetings was like, you know what? He's on the come. He's doing a great job, and how he compares to other free agents around the league right now is it's quality. So we're like, let's get him in here, get it knocked out, have a strong foundation on the offensive line, and check that off the box. And he was so excited too. So he flew in here all the way, from Texas with his suit on.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Put a suit on.
Yeah.
Very
cool.
nice.
Like, come on, Phil. Like, wear a sweatsuit and then throw your suit on when you get here. I flew all the way from.
Wore that on the plane.
Yeah.
Well, I love that he felt
that's
like
part of the interview process too, right? Like, really, you're gonna wear a suit all the way here?
Yeah, but that's pretty awesome.
No,
he's taking it very, very serious.
Yeah.
Hey, did you watch the NBA All-Star game with tight hands and sweat, beads of sweat, because you saw DK going up to pack it, or did you?
Yeah,
just
I didn't know if
it
it was real at first. We had just got done with meetings, and we took a couple guys across the street to grab a beer before everybody, went back to the hotel room, and I saw him running around. I was like, holy smokes! He was doing great. I mean, I was just like, oh my gosh, is that real? And I think I was the last person to know about it, but so. I was
to know that he was playing.
I didn't really know what it was, and so I just sent him a text and was like, "Hey, great job in the game, but you were dunking on people like my height and stuff." So,
so you weren't impressed.
He's out there blocking some actor's shot that's like 5'4". So,
I thought you were going to be, all worried about his health and everything.
Yeah, very much so.
You just wanted to make fun of him, basically.
Yeah,
Dunking on 5'4" actor.
He was, he took off from,
I could imagine
a couple times, and I'm just thinking to myself, holy cow, I got to get home and go to bed.
Yeah, I can imagine Pete probably likes that kind of
Pete
stuff.
loves the competition. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're different.
But you're sitting there wringing your hands like
Yeah.
he might twist an ankle.
Very different that way. Yeah.
Now, what is it? He tweeted out, or maybe it was Instagram, I don't know, but he gets drug tested immediately after that. Is that I always thought that they tested in training camp, and then once you passed, you were done. I didn't know it was an off-season
there you
thing.
go with the tweets and all that. So I don't really follow that stuff, so I don't really know.
Is it? But they can just test whenever they want. I guess in the off-season. Yeah. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened a couple times to me.
Do whatever they want.
Yeah, they follow you into your bathroom.
Really?
Right there. Nice and convenient.
And they watch.
Yes, they do.
They watch every moment.
Yeah. I had to do it in Kansas City one time with Dale Carter. It was really awkward.
You did?
Yeah, they did everybody. They got us up in the morning and went down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought that those samples should go in like a Brinks truck. It's always some guy in like a members-only jacket. He goes in his Ford Fusion with the sample, and I'm like, that could be tampered with. There should be armed guards.
Seriously. I mean, Dale Carter's looking at me, and I'm like, does he what? Am I supposed to take this test? What's going on? What are we doing? It was weird. We had to go in his bathroom and yeah.
One of the things we were talking about before, I think it was A.J. Brown said something in the press about, they're talking about extending Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And he made a comment to their GM, like, sign him, get him signed or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Does that have any impact on a GM? Like if DK came up to you and said, you got to get so-and-so, you got to sign Gino, or you got to re-sign Tyler, or whoever it is.
Yeah. Well,
does that impact you at all?
Sure, it has an impact because their passion, where their heart lies. But it's hard. Sometimes it's hard for players to wrap their mind around, the totality of the team building and what that looks like. And I always tell guys when we meet before they hit free agency that we want to reward you as much as we possibly can, knowing that there's a balance here to be a championship team. And so, when my son Jack was still at home, we'd be playing Madden and all that. I'm like, well, it kind of makes sense. So now I'm like, if you guys, if you're ever playing Madden, you know that you only have a certain amount of money to work with. This is what your cap looks like. And, you have to choose here and you have to choose there. You have to, I don't know. And so I think, they're looking out for their teammates, but, they know at the end of the day it's a business too. And I think the majority of them get it.
You have lots of people that run like a fantasy football, they're the winners of their league or whatever, and so they think they can be a GM.
Sure.
Yeah. You get that a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I killed it, with the fantasy football. 3 years in a row, like I could be a GM.
Yeah, grab dinner on the way home, yeah. Hey, are you... I get to yell across the room, defensive lineman.
Oh, you get that? Yeah.
Like, thanks for the flash, Gordon.
So you had like a notebook that you were keeping. Bill, Bob, I can't see too good. Is that Bill Shakespeare over there?
Nice. I like it.
You asked for a reference.
You were playing it. I like it. You're doing that for a while. Oh, you want me to say the name of the movie?
Yeah. Or the skit.
That's Tommy Boy, right?
No.
Is that Bill Shakespeare over there? Well, it's Chris Farley.
Yeah.
He didn't follow through with the whole belt adjusment.
Motivational speaker.
Oh, that's Saturday Night Live. That's on a movie.
Matt Foley.
Yeah, there we
Matt
go.
Foley.
All right, are you happy
Did
now?
Matt Foley have a movie? No.
Should have.
Yeah, he should have, for sure.
Yeah. Dad, I wish you'd shut your big yapper.
So in these meetings that we that we were in, we break it up with all that stuff, right? So now we have people in the room that they don't know who Chris Farley was, and so Lou Holt's granddaughter Haley works with us now, so she's in there, and we're showing her the clip of Anchorman, and she's looking at us like, so this is funny because.
Really?
What? Well, he's a old Anchorman, and
if I have to explain it, this is not going to be fun.
You got to walk them through it. Oh man.
But we split up our.
That's tragic.
We split up the meetings like that, so we have a blast with it. But tons of different. So yeah. What else we got?
We ran out of time. Man.
Oh, really?
Dave's looking at us like no more questions. He's gonna.
Well, Dave, watch me. I'm going to take this thing on down the road. Okay.
Okay. All right. You got it.
John, we appreciate you, man.
All right.
Thanks,
do it
man.
next
See you
week.
guys. Sounds good.
There you go. There's the GM,
See you,
John Schneider, with us. He'll be with us every Thursday at 4 o'clock, as we've been talking about. Really good stuff from him. We appreciate it. And by the way, if you miss any of it, it'll be available on the podcast page for you after the show at seattlesports.com. We'll come back, talk about what we heard. It's Dave. It's Bob. It's live from the VMAC. It's Seattle Sports on 710.